You're watching WHSV News 3. 11 minutes of nonstop news and weather starts right now.
Restoring rights for felons. Good evening, everyone. I'm Deon Guillory. Allison Bruner has the night off. We start tonight with a developing story. Nonviolent felons in Virginia may begin the process to regain voting and civil rights. Governor Bob McDonnell saying this could start once all the conditions are met. WHSV's David Coy explains the new process. David.
Deon.
All right, David, thank you. And tonight, groups are weighing in on the governor's announcement on automatic restoration of rights. Virginia Organizing released a statement that reads in part, quote, "For those who have been waiting to get their rights to vote back, this is a huge victory and a gigantic step in being accepted and integrated as an active participant in the community." And the group, the Advancement Project, is saying there's still work to be done. Quote, "While today marks a huge step forward in public policy, we hope it is only the first step toward full automatic rights restoration for the more than 350,000 Virginians who live, work, and pay taxes in our community, yet have not had their rights restored." Now to an ABC News exclusive, the first interview with the parents of George Zimmerman following their son's acquittal in the killing of Trayvon Martin. It's, of course, a case you know that has sparked coast-to-coast reaction. Marcy Gonzalez tonight with George Zimmerman's parents in their own words. And it's that juror who is part of another exclusive tonight. We're hearing for the first time from one of the jurors who acquitted George Zimmerman. Juror B37 spoke to CNN's Anderson Cooper tonight. Her identity was concealed.
What did you think of George Zimmerman?
I think George Zimmerman is a man whose heart was in the right place, but just got displaced by the vandalism in the neighborhoods and wanting to catch these people so badly that he went above and beyond what he really should have done. But I think his heart was in the right place. It just went terribly wrong.
Do you think he's guilty of something?
I think he's guilty of not using good judgment. When he was in the car and he called 911, he shouldn't have gotten out of that car.
And before the jury reached its verdict in the Zimmerman case, the 6 women had to follow a series of guidelines submitted by the defense and the prosecution. The 6 women had to consider the motive highlighted in the 27-page document for the charge. Zimmerman was accused of second-degree murder, but it lists a homicide can be lawful if it's justifiable or excusable. The document clearly says the jury has to reach a verdict solely based on evidence.
But I don't think there was enough evidence to say, so the only evidence they had was the injuries to Zimmerman and then the fact that Mr. Martin was subsequently killed during the scuffle.
Trayvon Martin's family can file a civil lawsuit which Zimmerman would have to pay for damages, or the federal government can file a civil rights suit if it proves Zimmerman violated Martin's civil rights. We're tracking crime tonight. A Waynesboro man is in jail accused of sexually assaulting a child. Police say Melvin Templeton molested a 10-year-old girl in Waynesboro over the weekend. He's also wanted in Oregon and Michigan. Templeton faces several charges, including 2 felonies. Tonight, we are keeping an eye on scams and ripoffs. And when it comes to apartment hunting, as you scan rental ads in newspapers or on websites or listservs, remember that some ads may not be legit. Scammers regularly advertise rentals that don't exist or aren't available. Here's how to avoid falling for rental listing scams. Never wire money or send a check to someone you've never met for an apartment you've never seen. Don't be rushed into a decision. The lower the price for a premium listing, the more likely it's a scam. If you place an ad looking for a tenant to rent your property, be aware of scams involving fake checks. And if you know of a scam or ripoff or have been a victim of one, email us at scams@whsv.com. We'll follow up to make sure criminals are held accountable and your family is safe. Now to Your Voice, Your Vote. Democratic nominee for Governor Terry McAuliffe continues to widen his campaign funding advantage over the Republican nominee, Attorney General Ken Cuccinelli. From May 30th to June 30th, McAuliffe raised more than $1.9 million. That's according to fundraising totals released today by his campaign. Cuccinelli has raised $1.1 million during the same period.
What's going on there? And as we get next week, things cool off a little bit back into the lower 80s. So you got to pay for it, I guess.
Right, but for now, remember those light colors, water.
Absolutely.
Now to a consumer alert. Stop texting for just a minute and listen up. July is National Cell Phone Courtesy Month, and depending on where you are, some people may be slightly annoying with how they use their cell phones. Melissa Rainey explains a few do's and don'ts. Great things to remember there. New at 11, new research finds that parents' TV viewing habits play a big role in how much their kids watch television. Researchers believe that parents need to be good role models by turning off the set and doing something a little more productive, hoping that their kids will follow their lead. The latest report on the economy shows more of us are skipping eating out at restaurants. With those stories and more, here's Bloomberg's Deborah Costrin. New at 11, after the bombings at the Boston Marathon, many people are looking for ways to help, like donating to a charity or fund, but beware, your money could be going in someone else's pocket. And tonight, we'll show you how to give without being a victim of scams and ripoff.
The images are heartbreaking. 2 explosions going off during one of the most popular running events in the world. And as we all look for ways to help victims of the Boston Marathon bombings, be careful.
This is just like night follows day. There are scams that are coming up.
That's the warning from Tom Gallagher with the Better Business Bureau. He says scammers are always ready to take your money after any tragedy. Hundreds of ripoff websites are now up and running.
Boston Marathon, bomb, attack, or whatever it may be, that where folks would then be directed to make a contribution.
Crooks are also using social media to take advantage of you. One fraudster set up a Twitter account minutes after the bombing, claiming to be associated with the Boston Marathon organization. It was quickly shut down. To avoid being scammed, make sure you donate to charities you know and trust. Don't give out personal or financial information unless you know the charity is legit. And make sure you know how the charity plans to use your money.
If they can't get that money given out in a timely fashion or in a business-like fashion, then that's not going to be a valuable contribution.
Also, never send cash. You can't be sure the organization will receive your donation, and you won't have a record for tax purposes. Not a lot of snow, and what did come down isn't really sticking. I'm going to show you why. I got a little electronic thermometer here. I'm going to test the pavement here in this parking lot where we are, and it's registering about 30 degrees. I would show you, but the print is really small, so you won't be able to see it on camera. But what you can see is if you look behind me right here, you can see snow on the grass here, but if you look in the distance, there is no snow on the roads. It's just really wet. And if you have to come out tonight, you have to be very careful on those roads, on those very wet roads. Now, take a look at some video that we shot just a couple of hours ago. Snow on the grass and some on trees and bushes, the same situation in this area. But because it's warm, it's all melting. Although this snowstorm didn't happen the way we thought it would, some people did take precautions by getting off the roads and checking into hotels, helping these businesses boost the bottom line.
Well, most of them have come in really early in the day to get in before it gets worse. So there's been, it definitely was busy earlier in the day than it usually is.
And so not much snow did come down, but a lot of people were taking precautions. And if you look behind me here, you can see a utility truck in this parking lot, just one of 3 of them here. Another precaution just in case there were power outages because of the snow, but that was not an issue. But what could be an issue is the wet roads refreezing overnight, causing black ice. Live in Waynesboro, I'm Deon Guillory for WHSV News 3. That woman's name is Lisa Brown. Her son is best friends with murder suspect Dallas Chaplin. He is about to go to sleep here at the jail because lights out is at 11 o'clock. But for everyone else who's staying up tonight to watch this newscast, Lisa wants you to know the real Dallas Chaplin. Police say this is the face of a killer, but those in Dallas Chaplin's inner circle say he's anything but.
He is the most well-mannered, well-liked. He is he's got a heart of gold.
Lisa Brown's son is best friends with Chaplin.
Out of all my son's friends, he's my favorite kid.
These are pictures given exclusively to News 3 by Chaplin's sister. Brown says Chaplin's parents divorced. He had trouble with the law as a child, but turned his life around. Got a job in his own place. But she says the image some people have of him is all wrong.
Dallas is not a cold-blooded killer.
Chaplin is accused of killing Ben Gressel early Sunday morning. Brown says she talked to Chaplin after the incident, and he explained that it was all in self-defense.
He said that he was involved in an altercation. There was a fight with him and his friend and the deceased. And he said that there was a knife drawn from the deceased and that he offered, whatever, he issued a threat to Dallas, and then Dallas got scared and he shot him.
Brown says she told Chaplin to surrender, but she says the 19-year-old felt that he didn't stand a chance.
It was a college boy, and then, you know what I'm saying, a delinquent. Basically that's how he was looking at it.
Now, Brown just wants to make sure Chaplin gets a fair trial.
I love him like he's my own son, and I will fight for him like he's my own son.
Now, Lisa says that Chaplin does have an attorney, and he's expected to be back in court in February. Live in Harrisonburg, I'm Deon Guillory for WHSV News 3. John, the road is clear right now. You can see that it is also wet, but this cold, hard snow means cold, hard cash for tow truck drivers, and they're the group that's ready for you if you take the wrong turn.
It's been crazy. I believe this makes number 17 for us today.
That's more than double an average day for David Phelps. He's a tow truck driver at Keys Towing in Bridgewater. The big number due to the snow.
It's supposed to be a vehicle down over an embankment.
Phelps has been a tow truck driver for 3 years. This JMU grad says it's the challenge of not knowing what's next that keeps him going. But he tells me there is also a dark side.
You've always seen, fatalities and that kind of deal. Towing sometimes isn't so pretty.
After a short ride,
we'll sit right here.
We get to call number 17. The driver of this Pontiac lost control and ended up stuck in a ditch. David gets to work.
I'm gonna go ahead and start hooking it up while we're waiting on the wrecker.
With his chains, he hooks them onto the car, getting down into the snow and even the water in the ditch.
It is definitely a dirty job. Cold and wet too.
David has a strategy to get the car out.
Get them out the same way they went in.
The wrecker arrives, and now it's time to pull the car out of the ditch. Once that happens, the car is then put on the flatbed truck and taken to the Keys towing lot.
Oh, that went pretty well.
The car is put in the lot. David waits for call number 18.
You gotta be real careful out here, that's for sure.
Now, David says he believes that the calls will come in again overnight because once this snow freezes up, the roads are going to be very slippery. At its first meeting since the election, the Harrisonburg chapter of the Shenandoah Valley Tea Party is still talking about Mitt Romney's loss.
Romney lost, Obama won, but we didn't lose, the Tea Party didn't lose because Tea Party wasn't on the ballot.
It's this newsletter that has some people outside of the Tea Party upset. The group is saying that they are afraid for the next 4 years. The one part getting the most attention is the question, comprehensive immigration reform needed? The Tea Party says that's not why President Obama received the majority of the Hispanic vote. Bruce Richmond is the newsletter's author. He says Hispanics picked Obama because they are, quote, consumers of government largeness.
We think there's a lot of Hispanic voters who vote not because they're conservative or liberal, but because they're voting for their pocketbooks.
Rick Castaneda is the homeschool liaison at Harrisonburg City Schools. He has protested in the past against deportation. He told me by phone, quote, this rhetoric does not fit the morals of the people of the Shenandoah Valley.
Maybe there is exceptions. Maybe we have to go another way with that. I don't think so, but it might happen.
The Tea Party takes its concerns to Richmond tomorrow for a weekend conference on what's next for the group. In Harrisonburg, Deon Guillory, WHSV News 3.